morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are around the world, and welcome to another episode of Endurance Chat. I'm Michael Zalavari, and joining me today is Chris Riddell. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Michael. Good to be back for Season 6.
Season 6.
My first episode for the year.
Yes, it is. And if I recall correctly, you were also on the second episode back in Season 1, so this is a great little, nice little parallel for that.
Nice full circle. Yeah, nice full circle moment.
Yeah, of course, back in Season 1, our second episode was about the Bathurst 12 hour, which should be coming to an end right about now, or ended like an hour or two ago, but this crazy world we live in means that we don't have it, but instead we get 2 weekends back-to-back of the AsLMS series for 2021. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. Before we go any further, let's just thank our amazing sponsor, The Racing Line. And if you get confused about time zones, like we're going to be, because who knows what the Gulf time zone is, jump on that app and it will sort it all out for you and give you a notification for just before the race starts. Kiwi, AsLMS series 2021. Why do we care about the AsLMS series now?
Well, the AsLMS series has really undergone a resurgence in the last 4 years, really. Grid count this year in the 30s, an absolutely mental GT3 field, and a P2 and P3 classes that are going to be red hot. With the pandemic this year, all condensed into 2 weeks of frenetic action, and at the end of it, automatic Le Mans entries.
Yeah, it's a bit of a crazy condensed schedule. Like, as you mentioned, 2 weekends back to back. And yeah, importantly, GT3 as opposed to GTE. So the only ACO series, or besides Michelin Le Mans Cup, which I guess kind of counts, that runs GT3 machinery. But yeah, the GT3 class on its own is what, 18 cars or something mental?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a race in its own.
Yeah, that's a World Challenge grid from 4 years ago as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
But the work that the ACO have done to get this grid up to where it is, the coverage has now got a hell of a lot better with Graham Goodwin involved. The car counts are arriving. I mean, even if it wasn't as condensed a format as it was, we still get a 30-car grid minimum.
Absolutely. And this is following on from like last year as well, when we started to see a real push to the AsLMS series. And what you're saying is absolutely correct about the media involvement and the team, the organization team from both the media side and through the administration side. What is his role, Cyril Teichwallen? He's the managing director of the AsLMS series. Is that it?
Yeah, I think managing director, LMEM, Asian.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And the work that he's done, particularly to get the AsLMS series off the ground and in the eyes and ears of the sports car world, has been very, very well done. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, specifically with relation to how the schedule has worked out. But yeah, it's been a really, really cool series. It's kind of weighted the other way. Like, you know how the European Le Mans series and to an extent the WEC is like heavy prototype focus, and then there's a little bit of GTs. This is like the other way, which is, I think, a really, really cool sort of point of difference.
Yeah, it's a great uniqueness. And the GT scene in Asia has really grown exponentially, not just in the ACO product, but Blancpain Asia, or not Blancpain anymore, but SRO Asia.
Yeah, so that's another thing to look at. Of course, that's had a little bit of an interruption this year as well, but we should see some racing there pretty soon. Now, let's talk about this season. So we have, as we mentioned, 2 race weekends back-to-back, each having 2 4-hour races. So we've got 2 in Dubai and 2 at Abu Dhabi. That's going to be tight turnarounds for teams in terms of servicing the cars and replacing things if things go wrong. What do we think about the season schedule as it stands at the moment?
It's honestly the best they could have done, given everything. I'm actually really excited by it.
Okay.
Yes, it's going to be an absolute challenge for teams, because if you have a big incident at Dubai 2, for example, you're done. You're not going to get a spare chassis unless you find somewhere in the Arabian desert where there's one's just sitting in a barn find or something.
Oh, let me just pop down to the local hotel. There might be someone, a rich billionaire with a spare Orica chassis just lying about.
Yeah, you never know. But those tight turnarounds, the talent that we've got in the cars, the frenetic action we're going to see, it's 16 hours of racing. Dubai, I think, is going to be really, really good for this sort of multi-class action. I'm looking forward to, because we see it for the 24, obviously.
Yep.
And I think just that little bit more pace as well from the P2s, it's going to be a great weekend there. Abu Dhabi, I'm not so sure about. I can see traffic being a massive issue, particularly in the last sector.
Yeah.
But that's the other element of endurance racing we love about traffic management.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, there's definite pros and cons here, and I think it's going to be a great 16 hours of racing.
Yeah, it's interesting that these are the two tracks that are brand new to ACO racing. I don't think I've ever heard of an ACO race on either Dubai or Abu Dhabi, despite their numerous uses in other forms of motorsport. We've already mentioned the Creventic, the Dubai 24 hours, and Abu Dhabi, of course, has been used as a test facility for sports cars, but is predominantly known for its Formula One season-ending accolades. I think the point you make about the traffic management at Abu Dhabi particularly is going to be very interesting, because it is really a circuit of two halves in that regard. You have like the first half of the lap, which is sweeping corners and long straights, so it's pretty easy, I would say, for the prototypes to get around. But yeah, that last sector, coming through the final, like the sequence of 90-degree turns, that's going to be a real challenge.
And considering that the P3s and GT3s won't be too far apart in pace, if a P2 catches a traffic jam at the wrong moment, that's going to cost them buckets of time.
Yeah, absolutely right. We could see something akin to last year's race at the Bend, where we had, Roman Rusinov and Nick Cassidy trading blows for a good 20-30 minutes in and out of traffic.
Hey, if we get that, I'm not going to complain.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on the Dubai as a track for this style of racing? We've seen prototypes at Dubai before. They run a P3 race there as part of the Creventic week, but with a larger GT field and the quicker P2 cars, how do you reckon that's going to hold up across the two races?
I mean, we haven't seen the prototype racing there for a little while, because of, well, when they did have it, it was 7 cars.
Yeah, that's true.
But plenty of long straights, and I think it'll work well. It's nice and wide. There's plenty of slower corners, but they're not like complexes. So you don't have a slow corner leading to a slow corner like you do at Abu Dhabi. I think that's going to suit these cars better. Yeah.
And even the slow corners are pretty open. I think like the first sector particularly is probably going to be the most difficult for the P2s, but it's pretty open in its sort of cornering, even though it is quite slow.
And the other thing at Dubai is acres are run off around the circuit. So if you do make a mistake, or you do need to get around traffic, you've got that little bit more wiggle room to get out of a potential mishap. Where at Abu Dhabi, particularly in the second half of the lap, you don't necessarily have that as much.
Yeah, that's true, and especially considering like I think the one that I would have concerns about particularly is that like triple apex right-hander, where it's like you're turning and braking and turning and braking. Like in a prototype versus a GT car, the way you get around that corner is going to be so different. So expect to see a little bit of carnage there.
Yeah, a little bit like you see at Porsche curves. So it's with the blindness and the massive speeds, but
yeah, absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
Another important factor for this pair of weekends is that there are going to be two different configurations used at Yas Marina. Now, that was what was said. That was what was said initially when the calendar got first released. I've not yet seen an update on that, so I will be interested to see whether or not they do it. If they do it, what do you reckon the tracks are going to look like? Because of course, at Abu Dhabi, you've got the kind of cutaway that cuts most of the first sector off and then just takes you back onto the straight. You've also got the cutaway from the kind of break in the two straights that takes you back onto the main straight. And then you've also got the entire second pit complex on the second of the long straights. So given the choice, Kiwi, which would you choose? Which configuration would you choose if you were going to run two different configurations of the Yas Marina circuit?
Honestly, full circuit again.
Full circuit again? No, you don't think there's
none of those short circuits are going to suit multi-class racing. The only one that stands as hope in hell would be the one that cuts out the whole second and third sector, and then
you got too short a lap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then your other layouts are the corkscrew, which you can't do multi-class. So don't be mad. That'd be ridiculous. or the track that's just a second and third sector, and there's as funny as that would be to watch, that would not be a good race.
It'd be very, Mickey Mouse, as they call it?
Yeah, something like that.
Almost be like the WC race at Mexico. Remember when they did that, and it was like a friggin' frantic mess for 6 hours straight?
Yeah, but there were 20 million Mexicans in the stands cheering them on. That made it funner.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Of course, we're still going to be running without fans, unfortunately. So hopefully we get some good races to really bring the online product to the fore. I know that people have been working very hard behind the scenes to make the online product very, very good. And one final thing about the schedule, there's always plenty to talk about. Racing into Darkness. That's going to be very, very cool.
Yes.
We've already seen it at Bahrain in the WEC, that sort of transition into night and how cool that is. We're going to see those will be the first races of the weekend, I believe. So it will be the Saturday race, and then the Sunday race will be predominantly in the light. So what lessons do you reckon you can learn from the transitional races to help you in the all-day races the next day?
Not a lot. Well, I wouldn't say not a lot, because you're obviously learning which way the track bends. But things like your tyres and that, even in such a hot climate that they're in, driving at night's different to driving at the day, and the baking sun, the UV on the ground. So I don't think you can learn too much about your tyres and that. But things like geometry setup and downforce, things like that, you can certainly play with.
Yeah,
and you'll learn a lot from the first race of the weekend.
And certainly messing about with the car in race conditions. For those drivers who are brand new to the circuits, which a lot of them will be, especially those who are more European-based, or even those who are Asian-based. The Middle East is kind of in the middle of, both in that respect. So a lot of drivers might not have had the opportunity to race here before.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, okay, you can race a GT3 at Dubai readily enough in a 24-hour race, but you can't really do that at Yas Marina either, can you?
Well, they did have the Golf 12 hours. That's normally at Yas Marina. So that's a GT3 race. But that was that at Bahrain this year? If Chris was here, if Chris Washer was here, he'd be all over this and he'd know everything. Unfortunately, he's not been able to join us today. So I don't think it's as accessible, but I think you can still get your GT3 car entered in an event around the Yas Marina circuit.
But especially for these prototype drivers at Yas Marina particularly, they're going to come in pretty blind.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume that there's not a lot of testing time. I haven't checked the actual
schedule
breakdown yet.
Yeah, so I think it's 2 free practice sessions. I'll just have a quick look myself, because I was looking at this yesterday. 2 free practice sessions, then qualifying, then race 1, then race 2. So it's pretty condensed in how it works out. But I'm not sure if they have a provisional test prior to that as well, like for example they did at the Bend last year.
Did you just say there was not a second qualifying session?
No. I don't think so, because if I look at the weekend setup, it is free practice 1, free practice 2, qualifying for GT and LMP2s, and then race 1 and then race 2. So no second qualifying session, at least for Dubai.
Wow, that's another spanner in the works.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that's meant to work out. I'm not sure if they're carrying on the same, the finishing order as the qualifying positions for the next race. But in any case, that'll certainly be something to talk about as the weekend progresses. It will be very interesting.
Absolutely. Shall we get on to it? I can't wait. There
is one thing I want to discuss before we get into the teams and the driver breakdown of all 36 cars that are racing the AsLMS series. Now, during the uncertainty that was last year, we saw a lot of series really come up with kind of nothing when asked about what was going to happen for their series. Now, the AsLMS series did have the luxury of being in an off season. I think they finished their final race of the season the last weekend of February, so they were luckily ahead of the curve in that respect. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the AsLMS series' response to the pandemic situation, because honestly, I think that what they've done should be a sort of benchmark for what we should expect from other series around the world because they actually communicated with us.
Yes, I'm gonna put my sports administrator hat on here. Hang on one sec. There it is. The sound effect was unnecessary.
How was running around in the rain today, administrating sports, Kiwi?
Yeah, it was wet.
Classic Melbourne weather. It's meant to be summer here, right? It's meant to be summer. It's like friggin' 24 degrees and occasionally raining. I hate it.
It was 19. It's ridiculous.
Oh, my God. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah. I look at how AsLMS series have done what they've done in terms of communicating, keeping people updated, having plans A, B, C, and probably D, E, F, G, H that we didn't see. And they've just been open and honest with what the plans are, what they're going, what they think can happen. And you're right. It is absolutely the gold standard of what clubs and teams and organizations should be doing under the pandemic. It's what I did in my sport, and it's made resuming a lot easier as well because I can just go, right, this is the date we can come back. This is the date we're going to start competition. Get your stuff sorted now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very much the same with it. And I think it's helped contribute to the 30 plus cars they've got. They've just been able to go, right, we're doing this. If we can't do this, we do this. Get your stuff sorted.
Yeah, I think we had a Asian Le Mans series calendar for this season before we had a provisional European Le Mans series calendar for last season. Like, that's how ahead of the curve they were.
And that was initially thinking there were going to be 4 races at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, that's true. And that's had to change last minute in some respect. That was only decided that they were swapping to Dubai and Yas Marina as 2 separate events. What was it, in December or something? But
when most organisations are off having the Christmas lunch.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really good that they kept updating not just the fans, but more importantly the competitors as well. Like this, putting in place, this is what is going to happen, and if there is any changes, we will update you as soon as we can, so that it enabled teams and drivers and media and everyone else to be able to put plans in place to be there. And, there was even talk that at the very last minute, some extra teams have been able to come in because of the change in restrictions by moving one of those events to Dubai instead of the Yas Marina. So it's been an incredible job from Cyril Teichweiler and the team to get everything together and to communicate it. And most importantly, just communication. It's been such a one-way relationship between ACO and everyone else. It's just, we keep asking all these questions. Just tell us what we need to know.
Yes. And the other thing it does as well, it gives clarity to those who are traveling in.
Yeah.
Because they can plan around, okay, I can do my 2 weeks in a hotel room at Yas Marina or Abu Dhabi. By the way, probably not a bad hotel to be in for 2 weeks.
I mean, yeah. Not a bad hotel to retire to after the race either.
No, very much no. Especially if you've got a trophy around your neck.
Or if you're out of the race in the first lap, it's just like, I'm going back to the room. Just watch it from the top floor.
Yeah. Is the tabs so good for the minibar? Sweet, thanks. I'll see you in 4 hours. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let's talk about these cars, because there are so many cars. There is literally 36 cars. That's like rivaling a WEC field, and that's the biggest class the biggest entry that we've seen for the Asian Le Mans series so far. We did make mention that it's predominantly GT3, which is pretty cool. I think I like the fact that we have more lower class cars than the top class, because it just means that there's an extra sort of variance, an extra degree of difficulty compared to something like the European Le Mans series, which, while fantastic and is the absolute top class of ACO racing, I think, in terms of the competitiveness and the diversity through the field for P2, and in terms of like the driving talent, etc., etc., etc. The fact that they don't really have to navigate lower class cars too often takes just a little bit of complexity out of running a race, I feel. Whereas in this, like, you've got 8 LMP2 cars, 7 LMP2 cars for this championship, and all of them are going to be ducking in and out of traffic the entire time. So let's crack into it. We do have 7 LMP2 cars, 2 entered in the LMP2 AM category, which for the first time is the current LMP2 regulation. So in the past, they've been running to the older P2 spec, but with now most of those cars either upgraded, retired, or burned to the ground, we've upgraded to the P2 17 regulations. We have 1 Ligier and 6 Oricas. No, wait, 4 Oricas and 2 Auruses, because if you get that wrong, you have a very angry Russian man coming for you. It's a bit of a mixed field between the stalwarts we'd see in the European Le Mans series, 1 or 2 new entries, one specifically which I'm very excited about from Asia, and then a few new entries for their first time into P2. So let's crack straight into it. We'll go through these one by one, very briefly, very quickly, just to give you a bit of an idea. So the first one I'm really excited about is Phoenix Racing, stepping up from an Audi GT program to LMP2, running the Orica, Matthias Kaiser, Simon Truller, and Nicky Thiem. So big names in that car just to start with.
Yeah, Nicky Thiem, this would be his first time in a proto?
I believe so. Correct.
Yeah. We know what he can do in an S, and he's done it for years. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Simon Trummer, he's your known quantity. He'll do what he does.
Yep.
And Matthias Kaiser, is it Slovenia or Slovakia? One of the Slovaks.
Liechtenstein is what he's listed on the.
Yeah, right. Liechtenstein. I can't tell my math. I thought that was a white bit on top of the flag. Don't mind me. Liechtenstein. So money. Also, he's raced a lot in the Nürburgring and Creventic. Raced Le Mans Cup in 2019 and raced for Graf in 2020.
Cool. So someone with a little bit of talent to fall back on. Interesting to note that in this class, you only need, similar to LMP2 regulations in ELMS, you only need 1 silver or 1 amateur driver. But for a lot of cars, you have multiple bronze or AMS drivers across, and I think that's a money, particularly a money saving thing. So. Phoenix Racing, though, this is their first step into P2s as well. They've been running factory Audi GTs for a fair while. How much of this entry, alongside the WRT entry in LMP2 for the European Le Mans series, is going to be gathering data for potential for the announced LMDH effort from Audi in the future?
Yeah. Is there a scoop you know?
Oh, well, no. This is just like you have all of a sudden 2 Audi factory GT teams entering in P2. Just around the time that Audi have announced that they're entering in the WC in the LMDH class in a few years. I wonder what's happening.
It means nothing.
Huh?
It means nothing. It means nothing. We know it means nothing. There's not going to be an Audi LMDH with Phoenix Racing. No, sure. No chance.
Yeah, cool. No problems.
No, it's absolutely just getting Phoenix Racing used to the prototypes classes before going ham.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. I think it's a pretty wise decision. We've also got Euro International jumping in a Ligier JSP2. Gibson with, I believe this is Euro International teaming up with Rick Ware Racing, who were prepped by Euro International anyway, because they have Phil Mullerchek, Neil Muston, and John Corbett. I don't really know too much of their names, but it's a trio of bronzes.
Yeah. John Corbett, of course, he's moving from Euro Interpol because the car he was in burnt down.
Oh, yes, of course.
Phil Mullerchek, he's the Rick Ware Racing guy.
Yes. Yeah. And then Neil Muston, also an Australian bronze driver. Any thoughts on him?
He's actually raced a lot.
Has he? Oh,
yeah, he's raced in P3 recently for Graf. He's raced for ARC Bratislava. He's raced in the Bathurst 12 Hour in 2017. He's raced 2016, 2015 as well. So he's actually got a lot of experience, although not the results that you would expect from a top driver.
So that's why he's running as a bronze rating then.
Yeah, he's probably also got a bit of coin behind him.
Yeah, probably. Interesting to note that this is A, the only Ligier in the field, and B, running in the LMP2 AM category, so that's why all of these are all AMs. The other car running in the AM category is the ERA Motorsport car, fresh off a win at the 24 Hours of Daytona, I might add, for Dwight Merriman, Kyle Tilley, and Andreas Laskaratos.
I haven't seen Daytona yet. Spoiler.
Oh, I'm not sorry.
No, I had to come across that, didn't I?
Yeah,
I saw what happened at the start What on earth, GT Field?
Don't remind me. Anyway, Merriman, Tilly, and Lascaratos. Tilly's the only silver driver in the LMP2 AM field. Lascaratos is a name that we've seen plenty of times before. He raced with ARC Bratislava last year in the LMP2 AM car. I think he's raced for ARC Bratislava quite a while.
He has, yes.
Yeah.
And had some decent results as well.
Yeah. And then Dwight Merriman, the slowest P2 driver of the field at Daytona, but the one who took home a Rolex. So well done, Dwight.
Hey, a win's a win, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
And an AM class of 2, this is probably the car to beat.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. On the note of a win's a win, remember Ed Brown has both a Rolex 24 win and a Sebring 12-hour win off the back of doing one lap under caution in each race and then giving it to Pipo Durrani.
Yeah. Anyone can do it.
This is true. Now just become a rich 70-year-old and drive for a lap and hand it off to a pro. It's the dream. Two cars from G-Drive Racing in the LMP2 class are both running the Auris 01. We've seen G-Drive plenty around the circuits of the ACO series. In the 25 car, it is John Falb, Franco Colapinto. I messed that one up. Let me have a go. Franco Colapinto and Rui Pinto de Andrada for the number 25. I think I got that one right.
Yep. I'm guessing your next line is going to be who?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, you know who John Falb is. He's raced a lot. Yeah. Ignore him. So Franco Colapinto is 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
He came third in the Toyota Racing Series in 2020.
Wait, Toyota Racing Series, that's in New Zealand, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
What was he doing racing in New Zealand?
It's where all young drivers go in the off-season.
Oh, yeah, fair.
And he won the F4 Spanish Championship. Rui Andrade is Angolan, and he's 21. He also raced Toyota Racing Series and came 16th in 2020.
There you go. Oh, 16th. That's a marginally less good than third or first or whatever it was.
Yeah. So Franco Colapinto might have something about him. And at 17, if he's doing, at 17, if you're coming third in TRS, you're doing okay.
Yeah. Bloody oath. John Falb, of course, is Algarve, and that's who's running this car in the AsLMS Series 4 G-Drive. That was the deal that they put together last year. The other G-Drive car is an interesting group of drivers. Not Roman Rusinov, who we've been expecting to, used to seeing. You have here Rene Binder and Ferdinand Habsburg, who are two pretty well-known quantities in the sports car field. And then, I'm going to mess this up royally, Yifei Yi, who's a Chinese silver driver, who again is a bit of a who. Have you got any information on him?
20 years old.
Yep.
He was a former member of the Renault Sport Academy, and he won Euro Formula Open last year.
Okay, cool.
And was 2019 second place in the F3 Asian Winter Series.
Cool. So someone with a bit of speed behind him. That's unsurprisingly two pretty competitive cars for G-Drive. I'm surprised at how unknown the talent is, so to speak. I would have expected a bit more known quantities in terms of the younger drivers that they picked up, but that's still, if they're placing in TRG and winning Euro Formula Open, they must be pretty quick.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the G-Drive development car, I think. Development series.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they bed drivers in here and then somehow snag an automatic invite, that'll be laughing at G-Drive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And well done for not pronouncing Ferdinand von Habsburg's real name, or full name.
Oh no. Are we about to butcher an Austrian's name?
A royal Austrian name, yes.
Oh god. Okay. We're just gonna leave that one alone because I am zero confidence today.
It's only 14 names long.
Oh, please don't. Moving on. Now this is the car that has had a lot of interest around it. The number 28 Jota Sport car. Sorry, it's not. So this one, we're very, very loose today on a Sunday evening. So this one has Sean Galeo, which is a driver who has raced in the WEC before. If you remember the KFC car back in the Fuji 6 Hours in 2016, I'm pretty sure that was Sean Galeo behind the wheel. He's joined by a pair of platinum drivers, Tom Blomqvist and Stoffel Van Dorn. That is a scary looking car.
This car is ridiculous. It's kind of like the Atlanta Braves taking on the under 12 Atlanta school team.
I
don't know why we were such a random reference, but there you go.
You could have literally said this is like any team in Australia taking on the Melbourne Football Club.
Yes, and I don't know why I went with the Atlanta Braves.
You're not even a Brave supporter.
I don't even know what baseball is.
Oh wow, well done. Yeah, no, this car is crazy. Like Blomqvist, BMW factory driver, Stoffel Van Dorn, former Formula One driver, and Sugarlow. Like I haven't seen too much of him in recent times, but he is a silver rated driver and an AM driver, and I've seen him race in the WC before, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is the car to beat.
I mean, Sugarlow is not that good.
He's not that good, but like you have Stoffel Van Dorn and Tom Blomqvist in that car,
yeah,
though.
True. Yeah, this is true. This is Sugarlow's your AM. He doesn't have a moment where he's leaping the car over curbs, getting 12 feet in the air, like he did at Monaco one year. This car is going to be very hard to top. Although, the next car we're going to talk about, I'm actually intrigued by.
Yes, this is a very intriguing car. This is Racing Team India, so their debut into ACO Formula. This has a trio of pretty well-known drivers in sports car world. You have Narain Karthikeyan as the big lead driver for that team. Arjun Maini, who raced Asian Le Mans Series last year. I'm trying to remember which team he raced at, but he definitely raced at the Bend. I remember meeting him, so he was definitely there. Do you have information on that just on hand?
Last year he raced with RLR.
Yes, in the Tower Sports car. He was very quick that weekend. He was an absolute bullet.
I seem to remember him on the timing sheets and everyone going, ooh.
Yeah. And then Naveen Rao. Now, he's someone I feel like I've encountered him before, but I can't exactly place where. So, have you got... Yeah.
He won the 2020 Prototype Challenge in IMSA.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, it's Prototype Challenge, sure, but still, that's a pretty interesting trio of drivers, and their car looks awesome. If you haven't seen the car, it looks really, really cool.
I haven't actually seen it myself. Going to have a look now. Also, this team have come out and said, we want to go to Le Mans.
That's pretty ballsy. So, if it's their first proper go in an ACO series.
So I have a feeling that this would tick the diversity quota that the ACO love if it came to receiving an invite. But I reckon they'd love to win this and get the auto invite.
Yeah, and if we look at the LMP2 class as a whole, like, who are going to be the ones to beat? Who are the ones that are definitely going to be in the fight for this automatic invite for taking the championship? I mean, obviously you have to point to the Jota car, the 28. But if they have an accident on the first race and write off a chassis, who is going to be the next one to take the forward? Do you reckon?
Well, for me, it'd be between the Racing Team India and the Phoenix Racing Machines.
Yep.
And I still think the Phoenix will be best of the rest, but no, I don't say that with a hell of a lot of confidence.
It'll be pretty close. I'm surprised that you're not giving the 26 at least a look in. I mean, Ferdinand Hasberg and Rene Binder is a pretty good combination of drivers. I'm not sure on the 25, and with John Fowle behind the wheel, that's going to be an uphill battle. But I'm surprised you're not giving the 26 at least a look in. But I'd probably say the number 5 as well.
Yeah.
Especially considering, sorry to jump in over the top of you, that when Nicky Team leaves after the the Dubai round, they're getting Kelvin Vanderlinde in as a replacement. So,
oh well, then.
yeah, exactly.
That does change things up.
I mean, you're basically trading off one of the best platinums in the world for one of the best platinums in the world.
Hey, if I had that much platinum in my drawer, I'd be happy.
You would be. You would be very happy, and so would I. So that's the LMP2 class. 7 cars strong. Remember, 2 of them running in an AM subclass. How do we rate the strength of this class versus the strength of last year's LMP2 class, where we had into Europol with 2 cars. We had 2 cars from Euro International, which definitely wasn't confusing. And then K2 Uchino Racing, which I think were one of the big surprise stories of that. Sean Tong, it's a little frustrating that Sean Tong doesn't have a drive in this year because he was one of the shining lights of the Asian Le Mans Series last year. Thunderhead Dallara, Thunderhead Carl and Dallara last year as well. How do we measure that sort of difference in P2 categories between the 2 years?
Look, there's no denying last year was stronger, both in terms of the teams you had and the drivers you had. People like Shane Van Gisbergen coming in to drive for a race. And
Nick Cassidy,
and, there's really fast Kiwis.
Nick Foster, Aiden Reed.
Yep, and Aussies.
Thank you.
Yes. So, yes, the quality is lower this year, but given what on earth is going on with this pandemic business, I don't think we can be too critical of that. It's really hard for teams from Europe to commit to an Asian campaign this year, even if it's only for 2 weekends. Just because, especially like in Carlin's case, they have open wheel racing to look after. They've got all sorts of fingers and all sorts of pies. Money's tight after a year of absolute chaos last year. And Alex in chat is posting he thinks it's stronger this year. So
I agree with you, Kiwi. I agree that I think it's more disappointing that there isn't more Asian located teams in the P2 class particularly. So the only one that's really, you can argue whether or not Russia counts as Asian locale, but the really Racing Team India is the only hard and fast, this is definitely an Asian based team. Last year we had we have Euro International, which is, I guess, kind of counts, but like particularly we had K2 Uchino. That one.
Well, there's one big team missing. Eurasia.
Yes, that one as well. That's who I was thinking. That was who I was trying to find in my head. So yeah, Eurasia, we'd normally be seeing 2 cars from them, so it is a little bit kind of frustrating on that respect. But I think last year's driving talent on the whole is better, but I think the big names this year, particularly Van Dorn, like last year you had Roberto Merri as a former Formula 1 driver, so I don't really... No, I actually... I think it's still last year. But it's still not weak, it's just not as strong as it was last year.
Exactly.
Yeah. LMP3 has... Oh, let me count them up. That's 5, that's 10 cars? 10 cars in LMP3?
It is.
So a big LMP3 field in comparison, a bigger LMP3 field, featuring all our favourites, Nielsen Racing, RLRM Sport, United Autosports with 3 cars. We're not really going to go too deep into the drivers here, simply because looking down that driver list, there's a bunch of names I don't know. Oops. But there are a few important stories to pick out. Let's start with one that will bring a certain part of our listener base some joy. The debut of the 2020 LMP3 Ginetta. For the first time, it'll run in ACO spec. I'm not sure if it actually managed to get out on track in the Road to Le Mans series last year, but it's definitely going to be out here. ARC Bratislava are going to be running that car along with Miro Konopka, Tom Klurt, and Charlie Robertson. Charlie Robertson, of course, driving the LMP1 car most recently. So it looks a beaut, I gotta say. It's a pretty looking car, but after a year of no running compared to its competitors, how do we reckon it's going to stack up?
Not well.
Not well? No confidence?
Look, maybe I'm just burnt by the whole Ginetta P1 debacle.
Yeah, fair.
But I'm just not entirely sold that they can come in late a year after everyone else. Having said that, theoretically the car should be very similar.
In theory, yeah. Just really the funniest part about the last 10 seconds is that when there was a pause between me asking you that question and you answering it, we had one person in the chat just immediately reply with oof. So Ollie in the chat is very on the ball. Thank you very much, Ollie.
Yeah. So we'd even very much take a wait and see approach on that one.
Okay, that's fair. You're going to say ASC Bratislava, though, is going to be one of the better teams in LMP3, after running LMP2 cars in the past. Just as a quick sidebar, though, how's this for a freaking name? This is the name of the actual entry, like the car that they're running. It's the Ginetta G61 LTP315 Evo.
What the hell?
What?
Have they taken after McLaren's naming conventions?
Oh, possibly. I mean...
412-C #42, whatever it was.
Pound. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one there. So Miro Konopka, bronze rated driver, we sort of know what to expect from him. If you've ever watched WC a few years ago, he was running a P2 car. Mm-hmm. Tom Clot, I have no idea about. Charlie Robertson, we know about from the LMP1 project. So let's have a look at how that one goes. That's going to be dressed up in yellow with some coloured stripes on the side. So very, very pretty there. There's only one Duquesne in the field, and that's being fielded by DKR Engineering, with John Gleroux and Lawrence Hoare, who we know from... Chris mentioned last time out that they run at the Nürburgring 24 Hours. So he was also racing at Daytona very recently as well, in that car. Mm-hmm. Duquesne versus Ligier, where do you sit?
Ligier.
Yeah, okay, so why? Why Ligier?
Are we talking about looks, or are we talking about...
Just in general, like, how do you feel?
Ambivalent, but at the same time, I don't know. For me, the Ligier, I think, is just the stronger of the cars.
Well, see, this is the thing, right? So the P3 tenders were meant to be all, approximately equal, like the P2 tenders.
Yeah,
but
allegedly.
We've already seen it's taken one whole truncated season for the Ligier to be the car to have. Of this 10-car field, 8 of them are Ligiers. That might be due in part to the Duquesne having a weight penalty for not being homologated on time, which we knew about, but that was only for one season. So that
is gone?
That should be gone. It is a little perplexing to me to see, a field entirely of Ligiers, especially considering some of these teams, like Nielsen Racing particularly, were running Duquesnes in the last regulation, or running Normas who became Duquesne. So, yeah, it's a bit weird for me.
Yeah, and I think, and Alex just posted in the chat, the Duquesnes were quicker at Daytona, so potentially straight line performance, and that does look a bit slippier, just looking at a couple of images I've seen.
And we did know that already. We did know that because the Duquesnes, the Normas' first victories were at Monza and at Spa, and they were just another level.
That's where I've been thrown as well, Norma Duquesne.
Yeah. So at Abu Dhabi, like the second weekend, they could be bullets in the straight line.
But for me, Ligier is still, and it's the same thing in P2. Like everyone's going to flock to the better car.
Yeah.
So everyone's sort of flocking to the Ligier.
You're having real trouble with that, aren't you?
I have real trouble with English, let alone French.
You said it, not me. I wonder how much of the decision to go to Ligier is based on the the support package and the customer package, because I mean Ligier have an incredible supply line when it comes to building their cars and supplying spares. So maybe they're able to offer these things at a more competitive price point than Duquesne, which is, an outfit that was a race team and then bought the assets to be a chassis producer.
But it's a vicious cycle, isn't it? You build a better car, you get more teams, your supply network gets bigger, you can make things cheaper, make it cheaper to service that market, your market gets bigger, you can make things cheaper. Round and around the roundabout, nobody knows where it's going to stop.
Yeah, this is true. One thing I will say to that, though, is at least in GT competition, there will always be someone who wants to run your car. Like, you see, the big factory powers of Mercedes and Porsche and Audi and Ferrari, etc., etc. But, even the most boutique manufacturer in GT3 competition has a customer. They might have to... But yeah, I can understand that P3 might be a bit different.
Yeah, conversely, in GT, there's plenty of people going, oh, I want to race a Ferrari. I want to race a Mercedes. I want to race a Acura because I'm dumb and stupid. It's not necessarily going to have that for the P3 class. So You're not going to go, oh, I want to race a Norma.
That's true. And I mean, I guess that's why you don't ever see an Ades around on, anything that's normal.
Yeah.
Anything that's trying to be competitive. Anyway, sorry for that little tangent. Some drivers and some teams. So firstly, let's talk about United Autosports because they are the juggernaut when it comes to prototype competition. Duncan Tappy is in the number 3 car. Very familiar with his work from the European Le Mans series.
I think he was in the 2.
In the 2 car, it's listed as Ian Logg, Rob Weldon, and Andrew Merrick. So I'm not sure if that's changed on your entry list compared to mine.
Okay, maybe it has. Wikipedia, you let me down.
Oh, bloody Wikipedia, right? I want to talk a little bit about the number 23 car, because that has an interesting driver lineup that was only just announced today. We have Manuel Maldonado, who is the cousin of former Formula One driver. Even I'm having trouble with English tonight. Pastor Maldonado. And then alongside him is Wayne Boyd, who, again, we're familiar with from his exploits in P3 in the European Le Mans series. And a Finnish driver, Rory Pettinen. Now, you've done a little bit of research on Rory Pettinen. Give us a bit of an introduction to him.
Yeah. So, obviously Finnish. He's been around the traps for a bit. He's, been around for 16 years. At least. He raced last year in the AsLMS series with Graf.
Okay.
At Sepang, he's also raced in Michelin Le Mans Cup with Graf. Had a couple of podiums and a second at Paul Ricard. He's also raced a lot in TCR lower class races at 24-hour Creventic racing.
Yep.
He knows what it takes to perform well in endurance racing.
Yeah, interesting sort of pickup to steal someone from Graf, considering that Graf aren't even competing in this the AsLMS Series, which is a little bit of a surprise to me.
There was another big name we missed before. Graf's lost is everyone else's gain.
Ah, yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Well, at least United Autosports gain.
Yeah, and Manuel Maldonado. I'm gonna no, I won't steal the joke about them being automatic, but
thank you very much, Wes, for that one. Wes in the chat.
Yeah. But yeah, 21-year-old. He actually raced in Euro Formula Open last year with Motorpark. Which is not a bad team. Finished 4th in the season there. Has raced British F3 as well. So, young one, learning his craft. Will have Venezuelan
money.
I don't know where they get their money from, but
yeah,
no one has any money there.
That's true. Ah, yes. Welcome to Geopolitics with Flood and Kiwi. Oh, we're going to be in trouble. Let's talk about some racing. Nielsen Racing also joining Matt Bell, Rodrigo Sales, Tony Wells, Colin Noble. Tony Wells, Colin Noble, we know what they can do. They won the Asian Le Mans series last year, in a very, very tight tussle with Inter Europol, who, again, another team that isn't joining us for the Asian Le Mans series. So they'll be one to watch out for. RLRM Sport are joining with 3 drivers, of which I know none of them.
I think that's just, bronze.
Yeah, basically. Well, silver, bronze. Malte Jacobsen is a driver from Denmark who I feel like I should know, but I don't. So we'll leave that one well enough alone.
A quick Google says he's, Renault F4 Danish champion.
So... yeah, on the way up. CD Sport, a team that I've never heard of before from Spain, with drivers I've never heard before.
Michael Jensen, not Mikkel Jensen.
Yeah, I was excited for a second there. I'm like, oh, Mikkel Jensen. But no, that's Michael Jensen, so a South African. So, again, never heard of before. Phoenix Racing is also entering a car in P3. This one... has a driver I actually recognize in Vincent Kolb. Now, I don't know where I recognize that from, but I definitely recognize it.
And it's not because you know Kolb Corner from Barbagallo.
Oh, God.
He's a 25-year-old. He's raced in... I'm guessing he's raced in Phoenix Racing Audis.
Yeah, most likely.
Which, if I have a look at Driver DB, he's raced for Phoenix Racing in VLN. He's raced for Herbeth. And this year, he actually raced this year at Dubai where the car didn't finish.
Oh, that was my fantasy WEC pick as well.
Yeah. So yeah, he's been around the traps a little bit.
Yeah, so that's why I recognise that name. So 10-car field, we've done something about the drivers.
We've done a thing. We don't even know what it was.
This is true. Looking at those drivers and those teams particularly, where would you place your money if you were a betting man?
You really can't go past United, can you? In P3.
I would actually go the number 9 Nielsen racing car. That's where I would sit.
Ooh. Do they have a third driver?
They don't need a third driver. P3 competition has generally been mostly 2 drivers so far in ACO competition, whether that be European Le Mans Series or Asian Le Mans Series.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if they haven't got a third driver and they're the 2, then I can definitely see why Nielsen would be up there in the rankings.
We have Alex. We have Alex in the chat suggesting Duquesne, a DKR Engineering. That would be a good advertisement for the chassis.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about the driver lineup.
Yeah.
Nielsen, yeah, he's like you said, Nielsen, the 9 is definitely the best of the 2. So I think it's between Nielsen and I'm going to say the 2. Or the 3, sorry.
Yeah, the 3. James Maguire, Duncan Tappy, Andrew Bentley. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a question that's just popped up in the chat, have we sorted out the P3 fuel consumption? You might remember last year that there was some problems with the P3 cars not making their expected fuel consumption numbers. I have to say I have no idea. Yeah.
I'm going to say no because nothing would have happened. Nothing's happened anywhere for anything in the last 12 months, so why would they sort fuel consumption out?
This is true. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Remember, with P3 as well, you have to take 3 pit stops with a minimum time, and then any other pit stops you take around that are free. So that's going to be something to keep in mind while trying to track the P3 races. And that does get very complex very quickly, especially if there's safety cars at weird times or things like that. I'm going to pose the same question to you again. In P3, compared to the P3 of last season, stronger, weaker, indifferent?
Indifferent.
Indifferent?
I'll be honest. I didn't pay a lot of attention to the P3 class last year. Because especially at the bend, the P2 class was, oh my god, this is a Kiwi car with all the Kiwi drivers.
And then it broke.
Cool.
So you just sound like the normal ACO race director then, or the programming director,
DB director. But I think this year I'm going to pay a bit more attention to P3 because it could be a cracking battle.
It could. I am a little disappointed to not see Graph Racing into Europol. Those sort of guys in this class. But, I mean, 3 cars from United, 2 cars from Nielsen Racing, that's almost a good enough fight as it is. So,
and I'm going to say, just keep an eye out on Phoenix. We know they're a good team.
This is true.
Just keep a sneaky eye on them.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see how the LMP3 battle plays out. Now, we get to the big chunky boy, GT3 class, 19 cars, including 1 GT AM car. So GT3
Congratulations on your win.
So well done, Rinaldi Racing. I guess we'll start there. Number 66 car, Christian Hook, Manuel Lauk, Patrick Kujalo. Kujalo is a name I recognise. I don't remember the other 2. Rinaldi Racing green Ferraris. They used to be very cool. Now I think they're red like everyone else, like all the normies. They get a class win for turning up, basically. They are the Rick Ware of the 2021 season.
So Christian Hook's 53. And who was the other guy? Manuel Lauk.
Yes.
I just butchered a third language.
How did you butcher German? Like, that's...
I don't know. Now, it says Manuel Lauk won a race this year. I'm just going to see what it was. The 6 hours of Abu Dhabi in the 991 class.
There you go.
So, even if they weren't the only car in this class, they might have won it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not too sure on the regulations on the AM class, whether or not it is all bronzes or 2 bronzes and 1 silver, because there seems to be other all AM cars that are not AM cars, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm guessing here then that maybe if you're in GT3 AM, you can't get the auto invite.
Maybe.
So people are going, oh, we're going to push in for this because you never know what could happen.
Yeah, that could be true. I'm not too sure on that, unfortunately. This is all just kind of rushed up upon us with how quick the year has already gone.
Yes, indeed.
So let's break down this class elsewhere. We have, let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Ferrari GT3s, a McLaren, a Mercedes, 5 Aston Martins, 2 Porsches,
Nice.
2 BMWs, and that is your field. So let's start with probably the biggest change in the off-season. Last season's champions, Hub Auto Racing, no longer Hub Auto Corsa because they're not driving a Ferrari anymore. They're in a Mercedes. And driving in that team is an Australian driver that you and I both know very well, Liam Talbot. And then another driver from last season, Marcus Gomez. And then Raffaele Marciello.
That's bringing a bazooka to a knife fight.
Yeah, pretty much.
This car is incredible strong.
Yeah, it's crazy. Talbot is a highly consistent AM driver in Australia. Well, it's just in Australia. He's raced pretty well everything I can think of. Yeah.
And of course, for those who remember High Five, he's now married to Mrs. Charlie Robinson,
who's going to be one of the media personalities in the Supercars Championship this year. So there you go.
Yeah.
Actually, he proposed in before the Bathurst Carrera Cup race on the grid.
He did, yes.
Yeah.
What and also just welcome to second kid to the world in July. So he's probably going, yes, 2 weeks without the family.
Good on him. Of course, this car won the championship last year, so for all of our messing around, they're actually quite a good outfit, quite a good driver lineup. This car has also won IGTC races in the past, winning the 8 Hours of California in 2019, if I remember correctly, at the hands of Percat, Foster, and Tim Slade.
Yes, that's right.
Marcus Gomez, Brazilian driver, I believe, Brazilian stock car champion, maybe. And then Raffaele Marciello, just watch a Macau and you'll see Marciello just win.
Yep.
Just watch any race that he's in and he'll win, basically.
Absolutely. This car is right off the bat tough to beat.
Big change from Ferrari to Mercedes over the break. That's not something I was expecting, considering that Hub Auto Corsa have been, Ferrari for ever.
Yeah, but they're running with I don't know.
I wonder if they never replaced the Ferrari they rode off at Bathurst last year.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they just found a skip out of town and just went, here you go.
Imagine finding that in the skip in a country town in Australia. Blimey. We'll talk about the lone McLaren in the field as well. First time McLaren's raced an ACO Formula for quite a while. Inception Racing with Optimum. Now, this has 2 drivers I have absolutely no idea about, which is Brendan Iribe and Ollie Milroy, and I have no idea. Milroy looks right, but I have no idea how to say Brendan's last name. And then one driver I know a lot about, and that is Ben Barnicoat.
Yeah. Brendan Iribe, I'm going to guess, American. He's raced with Optimum last year in Michelin Mon Cup, British GT, and a thing called a pure McLaren GT series.
Okay, fair enough.
And Ollie Milroy, I think, Ollie can probably correct us here. He's probably also one of Optimum's drivers in British GT.
And then Ben Barnicoat, who is crazy fast and seems to do well in Asian-based competitions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Ben Barnicoat was racing the Thunderhead Cullen car last year, took a race victory in the last round, and also took pole at the bend with a terrifyingly fast lap. He was absolutely over the moon with that lap after that qualifying session. Very cool guy, Ben Barnicoat, by the way. If you ever get the chance to meet him, he'll talk your ear off.
the AM drivers here are going to be what let this car down, I suspect.
And I feel like you could say that through a lot of the field, to be honest. We'll talk a bit more about some of the other AM drivers in the field as we get to them. But they are the two single manufacturer efforts. Let's talk about the BMWs next, seeing as they have a two-car outfit from Walkenhorst, so both cars with Walkenhorst. Chandler Hull, Jonathan Miller, and Nicky Katzberg in one car. And then the other car has a pair of bronze drivers, Henry Walkenhorst, Mr. Walkenhorst, and Jörg Brewer. For me, that's three unknowns, Henry Walkenhorst and also Nicky Katzberg, which kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Considering we've seen the number one car, how do you rate the chances of the BMWs?
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah? Okay.
Yeah, nah. Good point raised by Alex and Chad. The 35 is the perfect example of a car that's probably an AM car.
Almost definitely an AM car, to be fair.
Yeah, so that should be probably down an AM, and who knows, it might end up an AM before we start the race. Chandler Hull is TC America driver.
Okay, cool. That's definitely a series I watch.
Yeah. So he races a Beamer for Beamer World Racing.
Oh, okay. There you go.
John Miller is some guy.
Yeah, fair. This is why we needed Chris. Oh, Chris, why are you doing night shift? Why can't you come hang out with us? So Alex saying in the chat that these guys have GT4 experience, but probably not much GT. So if you're going to find GT3 experience in a properly populated field, H Le Mans Series is probably one of the best places you could do it without running into trouble.
Yeah, it's off Broadway enough while still keeping your name out there.
Yeah. So those are the BMWs. 3 Porsches are in the mix. 2 from Precote Herberth Motorsport, which we love to see from Creventic. We'll chat quickly through those 2 cars. Number 93, Stefan Gorig, Antares Au, and Klaus Bachler. We know Klaus Bachler. We've seen Stefan Gorig before. Antares Au is a Hong Kongian bronze driver that I've never heard of before.
It won GT at the Abu Dhabi 6 Hours car collection Audi.
Nice.
So they don't normally have Duz driving for them, so he's actually no doubt got a bit of something behind him.
There we go. And then the other Herberth Motorsport car, number 99, Ralph Bon, Alfred Renault, Robert Renault. And that's the car that we've seen do awesome things in Creventic. And also GT SRO as well. Yeah.
And Nürburgring. That's basically, that's Renault is doing Renault things in a German car. That's just what they do.
That is what they do. The last Porsche on the list is GPX Racing. So a UAE-based team jumping into the series. We've seen this car in SRO competition, IGTC. I think they won the 2019 Spa 24, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Basically the Golf liveried Porsche throwback cars. Axel Jeffries, Alain Ferte, I'm not sure exactly on that one. And Julian Anlauer, is this his first event as a gold-rated Porsche driver? Because remember, he was a silver driver in that amazing Dempsey Proton car that should have won everything, but they found out that it cheated, but still, Anlauer, he's like, 21 years of age?
21. Porsche Super, and he's gonna be amazing. Exactly. It's just a matter of time. And we know what Axel Jeffries can do.
Do we?
Well, his name's come up a lot in the AM classes.
Okay.
And a Zimbabwean driver, you don't get many of those.
That's true. You do not get many Zimbabwean drivers. And
he's a senior race instructor at Yas Marina Circuit.
Oh, well then. So when we were talking about drivers maybe not knowing the track, he will have very much a leg up on everyone.
Yes, and Axel Jeffries raced last year in the Silver Cup class in GT World Challenge Europe, 2nd overall.
Nice. Okay. I am convinced.
For Mad Panda, one of the great names of motorsport.
Brilliant. Up there with Car Guy.
Yep.
Alain Ferte, though, we've got some information from the chat that he's 65 years old.
95?
That would be impressive. So, of the 3 Porsches, which one do you reckon is the strongest?
Despite the octogenarian-ish car, I reckon it's going to be the Ford, the GPX Racing.
Okay. It's a tight toss-up between that and the 99 car for me, but Julian Andlauer, man, he's got something about him. He's exciting. He's exciting to watch.
Yes, Alain Furte is old, but he's been doing this racing since 1985. So
he's experienced.
Yeah. And, age doesn't mean anything. Ken Smith racing his 50th New Zealand Grand Prix a couple of weekends ago.
Hey, didn't Juan Manuel Fangio win the Formula One World Championship at like 55?
Something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's raced at Le Mans a bunch of times.
According to Wes in the chat, made his Le Mans debut in 83. There you go. Good year, 83. That was the year that the two factory Porsches broke down 5 meters beyond the finish line.
Beyond the finish line being the key point.
Beyond the finish line. Great race, that one. We'll move on to the Aston Martins. 5 Aston Martins. I think the most Aston Martin dense field I've seen in GT3 racing ever.
Anywhere,
yeah. And 3 separate teams. TF Sport fielding 2 cars. One with John Harstone, Ollie Hancock, and Charlie Eastwood. So Charlie Eastwood, of course, being the young factory driver there. I'm not too sure on Harstone and Hancock. Great British drivers. I'm going to assume British GT related somehow.
That is most likely for TF Sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
John Hartthorne, he's 63.
Well, there you go.
And Ollie Hancock, he actually has a link, so he might be okay. He's my age.
So that's early 30s for those playing along at home?
Yep. And no, I can't see much about British GT, so maybe he's just a bit of a got money, come ride.
Oh, there you go. The other car that they have is Oman Racing with TF, which is an Omani racing, Omani flagged outfit. Ahmad Al-Hati, Tom Canning, and Johnny Adams. So there's another name I recognise.
There's 2 names I recognise. Ahmed Al-Hati. Yeah, maybe I should another name from a different country. Omani. He's done very well in the amateur classes. British GT. He's had quite a number of podiums. And that was actually in the overall podium.
Cool.
And I seem to recall him, 2017 Endurance Cup Pro-Am champion.
Wow, okay. That's I did recognize the name. I just couldn't place his performances. That'll be a good looking car. We'll keep an eye out for that one. 2 Garage 59 entries, neither of which running the number 59 because of course not. That would make too much sense. The first one is Mr. Garage 59 Alexander West alongside Maxime Martin and Valentin Hasclot, who I've never heard of before. And then the number 89 car is Mike Benham, Marvin Kirchhofer, and Yuki Nemoto, a Japanese driver. Now, Kirchhofer, I'm not exactly sure on the pronunciation. Everyone would remember from his incredible Bathurst 12-hour crash last year where the car rolled over at McPhillamy Park after hitting the wall. It was terrifying stuff. But he was okay. He's back racing Aston Martins. Maxime Martin in the 88 car. I think the 88 car for me is the stronger of the 2 Garage 59 cars. I think.
I think. I want to check out Valentin Hasclot before I say that, because I can say the Japanese driver Yuki Nemoto is a younger driver. He's raced in Italian GT, Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Not any great success, but he's still only 24 years old.
And by the way, for those playing along at home, the version of the entry list that we have in front of us is missing some nationalities and, more importantly, missing some driver ratings. So it's not too bad when it's missing, for example, Raffaele Marciello, who we know is a platinum. But when it's missing someone that we're not too sure on, we're running a little blind here.
And Hasselklot is 2020 GT4 European Series Silver Cup champion.
Oh, well, there you go.
So he's actually pretty solid for silver.
Silver Cup is no mean feat, so that's pretty good. That solidifies in my head that the number 88 is the stronger of those 2.
Me too. Also, there's no 59 car in the grid. What the hell are you guys doing?
Just right? It makes no sense. Like, I can.
It's bad enough. It's bad enough in Bathurst 12 hour we have Garage 59 and 59 racing.
Oh my god. Okay, so of course this is the echoes of the split between Garage 59 when they were running the McLaren team, and then when McLaren wanted to hold on to the 59 number. It's just a mess. To be fair to Garage 59, they do run number 188 and 189 in the AM classes of SRO competition. So it's that they're being internally consistent, but it just makes no sense considering that there's no 50. Oh, come on, guys, please.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude I'm going to take to this next car as well. The D-Station racing car, Tom Gamble, Tomonobu Fuji, and we've encountered Satoshi Hoshino before. We have mixed feelings about Satoshi Hoshino. Let's just hope he doesn't crash.
Basically, yeah. And quite frankly, his teammates aren't going to... I mean, Tomonobu Fuji is the GT300 driver for D-Station.
Yeah.
And Tom Gam
have won races in Super GT before, though. Fuji and Hoshino.
Yeah, but who was the other driver in the car at the time? Yeah. I mean, I don't expect you to know off the top of your head.
Where's Chris?
I have a quick. Yeah, true. He'd probably be able to tell you. But if I have a look at, let's say, 2012. Or not, maybe not 2012. That's a dumb example. Let's have a look at their last one, which is 2016, right?
Yeah.
D-Station Racing. If I get Google to work properly, there we go. Had Richard Lyons.
I don't recognize that name.
And that wasn't even a D-Station. That was a Audi.
Yeah. Well, okay, so a few we are memeing on this car a little bit, but let's have an actual talk about this. Hoshino and Fuji have been racing together for quite a long time, so they know each other very well. They have won races together. That doesn't just happen. This car is also the only car on the entry list I can see with 2 pro drivers in it. So Tomonobu Fuji and Tom Gamble are both... Oh, sorry, Tom Gamble's silver rated, so just ignore everything I said. But Tom Gamble is, very, very good. They have performed well at other races. They won the first race of the series last year. Admittedly, though, that was with the young Aston Martin driver whose name just immediately escapes me right when I need it most. Ross Gunn. Thank you, the Andy Blackmore Spotters guide on the wall next to me. We are taking the piss a little bit, but this could be an actual contender.
Yeah. And Tom Gamble, he's 19, and he won last year in LMP3 in the European Le Mans Series.
Yeah, exactly.
United.
See, I knew I was right about Gamble being a gold. Thank you very much, Ollie. Because it's technically a 2020-2021 entry list, they're able to use last year's driver ratings, and I think Tom Gamble has been upgraded. So they're running Gamble as a silver. So there you go.
Loopholes.
I knew I was right. In saying that, though, I don't think they might be the strongest Aston Martin, but I don't think that they are the strongest lineup at all on the grid.
Have any of these lineups been better than the 0-1?
Not yet. But let's talk about some Ferraris, of which there are too many. There is, 7 Ferraris on this list?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 I count. 7, one of which is the AM we've talked about.
Yeah, okay, so 6 that we need to talk about. Now, I'm going to beeline straight for the 2 that we have already seen before, and that is the 2 cars from AF Corsa, the 51 and the 54, which have basically been lifted straight from the WEC competition and placed in this class. So, 51, Francesco Piavenatti, Oz Negri Jr., and Alessandro Pierguidi. 54, Thomas Floor, Francesco Castellacci, and Giancarlo Fisichella. These are race-winning WEC GTM lineups that are in this class.
I didn't realise AF Corsa needed the auto-invite this badly.
Hey, well, if GTE Pro starts to become a bit shaky, they might need a few cars to buff up the Ferrari entry list.
Can we just say wow and holy cow?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that these teams, they're doing absolutely everything by the book here. Like, they're not breaking any driver rating rules. There's not even any loopholes being used here. These are just two incredibly quality lineups that are coming over from the WEC. It's ridiculous.
And Ferrari just, of course, wow. What can we say?
Yeah.
They're just solidly amazing, and they're very likely the winners of the class is going to come from one of these two cars.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was about to ask, are these lineups challenging the number one? Do you see these as finally a challenger for the number one?
The amateur driver in both those cars, I think, is better than Liam Talbot, so yes.
That is a huge call, but I like it. Let's jump to the Kessel Racing car, number 27. Only two drivers in this car. Giorgio Roda, who used to be driving the GTE GTE ELMS Racing Proton Porsches with Gianluca Roda, which I believe is his father. I think that's the right way around.
Mm-hmm.
And then Francesco Zollo, who's a name that I don't recognize, a bronze-rated driver from Italy. Without a pro in that car, it's not really exciting to me.
Yeah, this is another one that should be down in AM.
I would expect so.
Yeah, Francesco Zollo, quick Google doesn't come up with a whole lot, apart from the fact he drives a black Ferrari with a huge old school number 46 on the front.
Nice. Is that a reference to Valentino Rossi?
Yes, it is.
Nice. And then there's still three other Ferraris on this list. Another Kessel Racing Ferrari, so let's go there next. Takeshi Kimura, who's a name that I definitely recognize from Asian Le Mans Series related races before. And then this is the car that's really scary to me, because you have in it Mikkel Jensen, who again is now a gold driver but is listed as a silver driver, and Colm Ledegar, who was last year's Asian Le Mans Series champion with Car Guy. Yeah, so this is the Car Guy racing car that used to be Car Guy Racing.
No, still is Car Guy.
Oh, it is still Car Guy. It's listed as Kessel. Okay.
No, this isn't my entry as Car Guy.
Oh, there you go. Well, potato, tomato. Anyway, Kimura, Jensen, Ledegar. Right?
All right. I'm going to take back what I said before. There's three Ferraris in contention to win this.
They just keep getting better, don't they? So
yeah,
Colm Ledegar won pole position in Super Pole for GTEM last year, which was really, really cool. Driving with the Ligier racing team. So he was with Oz Negri and Francesco Piovanetti last year at Le Mans. Mikkel Jensen is the most fake silver driver since Job van Uitert and Phil Hansen and Ross Gunn. I'm sensing a trend here. Anyway, so Mikkel Jensen, incredible silver driver, was faster than Roman Rusinov, was faster than most of the P2 field at Le Mans, just by the way. And then Takeshi Kimura, who's one of the best AM drivers in the Asian region. Like this car, even with its goofy Disney font on the side of it, in the fluoro yellow with Car Guy, that's like, this is going to be a serious contender.
Absolutely, positively.
And sorry for taking all the talking points about that car. I just was too excited.
Yeah, thanks.
No,
don't blame you. Hey, it's unlike you to not be excited about a car other than a Porsche.
I know, but I just love good racing teams, and this is one of them, and it's going to be so good. It's okay. I'll let you take all the talking points about the Formula Racing car, because that one's also a cool car.
Formula Racing, the
number 60.
Danish team with number 60 with Danish team with three Danish drivers: Johnny Lawson, Fredrik Poulsen, and Nicholas Nielsen.
You did well.
Alderson.
You did well. Nicholas Nielsen.
Nicholas Nielsen, we know.
Yes.
And we know he can absolutely just bloody blitz it.
He can steer a car.
Yes. Johnny Lawson and Fredrik Poulsen. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing those correctly. I don't know too much about them. I'm assuming they're going to be the amateurs, probably do a bit of Scandinavian racing.
Fredrik Poulsen is a name that I recognize. but I'm not sure from where. I might have even been in the might have even been in the AF Corsa car in the European Le Mans series, maybe.
Yep. Okay. Johnny Lawson, Ferrari Challenge Europe, and actually came third in the GT Nations Cup.
Ooh, there you go. Is that running again this year?
Well, that's the plan. And Frederick Paulson, even Google's not giving me much about him. Ferrari Challenge, there we go.
Yeah, Ferrari Challenge. He won Ferrari Challenge last year, actually, in his debut year.
There you go.
So,
and Johnny Lawson's won it in the past.
Well, there you go. Frederick Paulson, 12 podiums out of 12 races last year in the Ferrari Challenge, including 7 race wins. So he must be a pretty good steerer. And if they're putting him into a Ferrari to go race in the International Series, he must be a damn pretty good steerer.
Yeah, and Formula Racing is actually the Danish team that runs the car in Ferrari Challenge for them.
There you go. Perfect. It is the new Dane train, considering that the Aston Dane train is not really a thing anymore.
I'm excited by that one, but I don't think it's the lineup's as good as the other Ferraris. So I don't think it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm interested to see how Nicholas Nielsen goes being the sole pro in a car. So this is something that has seen other up and coming drivers kind of trip up. You know, we've seen Matteo Cairoli run into this before, and Julian Anlauer to an extent, and as well there was another Porsche driver who ran into this problem. And you could argue even Roman Rusinov's run into this problem. It's very easy to be the heavyweight silver driver in a team because you have another pro to share the load with, to share the setup with, to help marshal the car through the race. When you are the pro, the setup, the weight of responsibility is on your shoulders. So you have to be the one who's carrying the AM drivers. And we see a lot of silver drivers or young professionals who start off blitzing everyone because, someone else is doing the setup for them. They're racing against silver drivers and they're being very impressive and very quick and it's all great. But when they are the ones who have to marshal the team and have the responsibility of the setup, of racing the other professionals, of getting the worst of the tires or the fuel strategy, they don't seem to have that same flair. So I'll be interested to see how Nielsen tackles that and whether or not he can stand up against the other pro drivers.
Yeah. And I think as well, the other part of it is when we have a single pro driver, more often than not, you tend to get them over driving the car as well.
Indeed.
And because they think, I'm going to make up for lost time, and generally they'll end up putting it into the barrier somewhere. Or something like that.
Yeah. So it's going to be, it is a different challenge. And as I've said, there are a few who don't quite meet it, and then there are a few who do very well. So it'll be interesting to see.
Nicholas Nielsen's very impressive. I reckon he can handle it.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him do very well. Let's be real here. Yeah. He basically carried AF Corsa to a championship in the ELMS a season ago. It was ridiculous what he was able to do in that car.
Yeah. Very strong car.
Yes, absolutely. There is one more Ferrari on the entry list. That is the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Number 55 car, Rino Mastronardi, David Perel, and Davide Rigon. So, Mastronardi, solid bronze driver. David Perel, not too familiar with him. Davide Rigon, WEC GTE Pro driver.
Yeah.
Ferrari seems to be going pretty hard.
They are really going at it. Well, Rinaldi, we haven't seen Rinaldi do a lot have we ever seen them at Le Mans?
No. We've seen them do a bunch of stuff in GTO, SRO competition, but not Le Mans, I think.
Yeah. So that third driver you mentioned, David Perel from South Africa, raced with Kessel Racing last year in Michelin Le Mans Cup, third overall.
Huh.
Had 5 podiums out of the 7 races.
That's pretty good. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty impressive.
And he also raced in 2020 European Le Mans Series for Kessel Racing, second overall.
Ah, that's where I remember him from.
Yeah.
Nice.
With 4 podiums out of 5.
There you go. So, how do we rank that amongst the Ferraris?
It's a very intriguing Ferrari.
But it's not the Kessel racing car, is it?
It's not the Kessel racing car. No.
That's the thing. Like, that's the thing about this entry list. If you, like, it was the same thing about the Daytona entry list. There were so many good cars, but also the number 9 exists, even though they ran into problems with the PAF Porsche and, struggled throughout the race. It makes it hard to really pick another car because you look at that entry list and it's like, well, you have the number 1 and you have the number 57 and no one else really comes close. It's a bit of a...
Apart from the 51 and 54.
And then apart from, this one and that one and all that sort of stuff, but they just stick out like a sore thumb, to me, at least.
Yeah. You're going to ask me to try and pick a top 3, aren't you?
Not quite, yeah. I do want to have a little bit of a discussion about why we aren't seeing more Porsches, because... Ferrari have taken this very seriously. There's like 5 Ferrari crews that could win overall here. Aston Martin as well. There's 5 Aston Martins. I haven't seen that many Aston Martins on a grid since BMW do their own thing. No one really pays attention to them anyway. McLaren is a more boutique manufacturer. That's why they've got one. Mercedes don't really have a stake in ACO competition, but Porsche have a real stake in ACO competition here. Why isn't there a more serious effort from Porsche, especially considering that you have Abu Dhabi Proton and Abdulaziz Al Faisal, or those kind of guys who normally take Porsches and race them just for fun? Like, where is I'm trying to remember the other one.
Having said that, there were no Porsches at all last year.
This is true. This is absolutely true. So, 3 is an improvement on 0. But yeah. I'm surprised that when you have Ferrari sending their WEC GTE Pro drivers and Aston Martin sending their WEC GTE Pro drivers, why Porsche aren't doing the same? Why isn't one of the Herberth cars? Why isn't Lawrence Vantor or Matt Campbell driving it? Why is GPX Racing Julian Anlau, who's a young professional, sure, but he's not Kevin Est or Patrick Pile or Earl Bamber?
The thing is, a lot of those drivers you mentioned, they're off doing other things in America and Europe this year. I think it's unless you're racing in WEC or a series that doesn't start till May, it's really hard to commit to doing more than one series with the world the way it is at the moment.
Yeah.
And we know Porsche don't like to send shockingly... I was going to swear then. Terrible drivers. Yeah. Porsche don't send drivers to a race unless they think they can win that race. So I can understand it from Porsche's point of view why they probably didn't think it, probably haven't given it the full factory support they had to have, or would potentially want to do it, in previous years.
I wonder if they've been more worried about COVID transmissions than some other teams. Because if you remember,
it happened.
Yeah, that happened at Le Mans. Their entire GT cohort was I think it was 2 of their drivers and like 5 of their team contracted COVID-19, so they had to isolate after the event and missed Nürburgring because of it.
And even we've seen it down here, not necessarily because of transmission itself, but 2 V8 supercar drivers, Andre Heimgartner, Shane Van Gisbergen, went over to race in the New Zealand Grand Prix.
And they got stuck there.
They got stuck there because Melbourne had there was a explosion of cases in New Zealand. Well, explosion being 2.
Well, I mean, for you guys, that is an explosion. Like we had a in Perth, so Western Australia, so not near me, but the state next to me, who have been very sort of closed with their borders and very much like, no, don't come in here if you've got any COVID cases, we hate you. They had one case. It was a security guard of one of the Medi hotels, so one of the quarantine hotels that they put people in when they return to the state. One case, and they locked down the entire state because of one person. Like, it's. I like that we have the luxury to be able to do that, but also on the other hand, one case is a little crazy. Anyway, that's an entirely different conversation.
Geopolitical part 2.
Oh, yeah. Once again, geopolitics with Flood and Kiwi. Far out.
Cookie. Gazoo. Yeah, but I think, because there's that uncertainty around the borders, and Porsche love to send their factory drivers out, they're not going to, they're really going shy about doing that at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you see no Porsches in Asia Le Mans.
Yeah, and I mean, most of the teams that Porsche want to be at Le Mans are either already racing in GTM, already racing in ELMS, and likely to win entries that way, or just capable themselves. Like, I mean, they had 4 cars under the Dempsey Proton or the Proton competition banner last year, and like, do they really need more entries? I mean, of course they do, because more people need to be inundated with that glorious sound. But yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think on top of that, they don't necessarily have the need to send cars over.
No, agreed.
Pardon me. So that is the 19-car GT3 field. Give me your top 3. You knew this was coming.
I knew this was coming, and I still know more prepared than I was 5 minutes ago. In no particular order, the AF Corsa number 54, as much as I don't like to go against Pierre Guidi.
Yeah, fair.
The number 01.
Yep.
The car,
Racing.
Yep. And slight curveball.
Don't.
The 55 Rinaldi Racing.
Oh, that was way less of a curveball than I was expecting. Yeah. I was expecting you to say D-Station Racing or something like that.
No, I wouldn't be that mad. Come on, I'm not that. I mean, actually, yes, I am that insane.
You are that insane. Absolutely. I'm also going to be very uninspired and say the number 1. I'm entirely surprised that you did not say the number 57. I mean, dude, bro, buddy, mate.
The 57?
Yeah. Kessel Racing. Kimura, Ledergar.
Oh, the car guy. Yeah.
Car guy.
That's not 50.
It's not?
True.
So I'm gonna put that one down, and then, which of the other Ferraris do I want? No, you know what? I'm gonna do a curveball as well, and I'm gonna say the 88, the Garage 59 car.
Actually, as far as curveballs goes, that's one right in the lower corner of the box. That's a good curveball.
Nice. I was sticking with the baseball references for some reason.
I nailed that one.
Yeah, well done. I'm very proud of you. So that is your grid. Let's talk a little bit about the future of the Asian Le Mans series. So we're in this very condensed, very weird little schedule for now. Next season, they've already planned a return to the Bend, which, I am very excited about. I'm sure you are too.
Oh, I'll be there.
Absolutely. There's still plans in the works to go to Suzuka. There's still, the race at the Chang International Circuit in Thailand. And we've raced.
Let's not have an international incident.
Another one. Our fourth one. We've they've done the night race at Sepang, or the day to night race at Sepang. They've raced in Shanghai. It's a series that is still on the up. And where do we see it sitting in the world sports car landscape in another year or two?
What they're doing really well, have been doing well, and it's the same thing we see with the TRS in New Zealand. It's that European off-season, come and race for a couple of months, have some fun, get an auto invite. I don't know how much more they can necessarily grow, because you're going to run to a point where tracks can only handle like 40 cars.
Yeah.
And when you throw into the fact that, the Asia is a big region. If you're racing in China, Australia, Japan, Thailand,
Malaysia,
in Malaysia,
and if these races in the Middle East go well and they want to go back to the Middle East,
and then there's how long do you want the calendar to be? If you commit to keeping it from November to February, bearing in mind you got Christmas and you won't get anyone racing over Christmas, you've really got a 3-month window to get that all in. And you're shipping cars from place to place. You can't really expand the calendar all that much to maybe five races maximum.
I think 5 races would be the maximum, and I wouldn't be surprised to see 5 races once we start to swing back properly, after whatever this is.
So I can see a bit more expansion, but I think we'll also see a consolidation of the calendar, a lot more of the big names coming back, maybe topping out at 44, 45 cars.
Yeah. So when does the European Le Mans Series run? European Le Mans Series runs from like late April to October, right?
Yeah.
And that's 5 rounds and then Le Mans on top of that. And then, a lot of the teams will do another round at the WEC at Spa. So I reckon it would be nice to be able to extend the season for the Asian Le Mans Series into March and run November to March, or first week of December to March, just to give yourself a bit more time and see 5 races. I think that'll be a good medium, because ideally you'd love to see the Asian Le Mans Series get to the same level as the European Le Mans Series. You'd like to see it get to the same competition standard, the same sort of competitive respect, the same mix of pro and AM and ACO talent as the European Le Mans Series. I don't quite think it's there, because it's still seen, as you put it, as the off-season series. There's something to do while you're there, I guess. So I'd like to see it, take another step up. But it's, considering where we were, 3 seasons ago, where we had no English coverage, like a 8-car field, and we were lucky to find a stream of it. It's come a long way.
Oh,
very quickly.
God, yeah. And they'll continue to grow that. And I think the ACA realised that the Asian car market's going to expand, and get on that now.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about the future of this series, and I'm excited to come back to the Bend, even though it means I have to meet you.
Oh, suck it up, princess. Brilliant. So that is your Asian Le Mans Series. First race is this weekend at Dubai on the 13th, so the Saturday, and then the second race will be on the 14th. The first race is at... let me see if I can get this right. It's going to be 2:15 local time, which is GMT plus 4 hours, or UTC plus 4 hours. So I think I think that works out to be like 10:15 European or UTC, and for us in Australia, like late, like 10 p.m. or something, or 11 p.m. or 9 p.m. or something. Just if you're confused and you don't want to trust me and my time zone malarkey, which let me assure you is going to be well off the mark, just get the Racing Line app, who sponsored this podcast. It'll convert it all for you and give you a notification if you want. And they've just added the Michelin Pilot Challenge from the States, so you can't miss that either. So get the Racing Line app. Do it. It's going to be good for you.
Do it. Yes. Does it convert time zones from Adelaide time, which is 1972?
It's not night. Shut up, okay? When you build a multi-million-dollar motorsport facility and have good racing at it, you can make time zone jokes, but until then, you can shut up. Although having a half-hour time zone is both awesome and just an absolute curse. Anyway, second race will be on the Sunday. That'll be a bit earlier. So the Saturday race will be the twilight race. The Sunday race will start at 12:45 local, so like 8:45 UTC. And then I'm pretty sure it's the same thing at Yas Marina in a fortnight's time. So that'll be the 19th and the 20th. Race threads will be on the subreddit, r/WEC, so get on that. Of course, you can jump into the Discord and participate in the live chat there, and also jump in on these podcasts live. Like, I think there's 6 of you in the chat. Hello. And I think that's everything for us tonight, Kiwi, unless there's anything else you can think of.
No. just nice to see live racing again.
It is nice to see live racing again. And before we go, it would be remiss of me not to congratulate you on earning a spot in the r/WEC Hall of Fame. Kiwi Chris, congratulations on that. It's been well earned, I think.
Oh, well, thank you. Without wanting to blow my own trumpet, yes, I'm awesome. No, I shouldn't say that. No, it's just amazing to see what this community has grown into. Without the community being the way it is, I would not feel comfortable doing this podcast with you and being an absolute maniac in the chat. This user group I've run into, this RWEC user group, has got me places I never thought I'd go. To America, to Daytona, to meet. You were saying I've probably met more users than anyone else in the subreddit.
Yeah.
For that, I'm sorry, everybody.
Unfortunate for everyone involved. You've also found your way to the bottom of an olive jar after your bicolors bets in years past. Luckily enough, not the bottom of a mayonnaise jar. That one was much more gross.
Yes, that survived this year because bicolors doesn't know how to race.
This is true. But yeah, in all honesty, it's been awesome to have you part of this community and awesome to have you a part of this podcast.
Absolute pleasure. And if you'd like our sim racing commentary, that stuff's up soon too.
Yes, that is starting soon. And that's going to be Le Mans retro stuff. So we're going to talk about some old Le Mans stories in that. I think that wraps everything up. Thank you very much for listening. I've been Michael Zalavari. Peace out. Man, I forgot how hard podcasting is when you don't prepare properly. Oh, no.
No, that was loose as balls. That was great. I was prepared.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
I had notes.
You had notes? Oh, God.